Wearing books plus entertainment industry variety shows plus apps plus fans plus cool articles. The female lead is kind-hearted and wholeheartedly devoted to the male lead, but without the halo of the female lead, she will only become a stepping stone on the path of love for the male and female protagonists. Heshi dressed like this as a supporting actress. Her current goal is to set aside the male and female protagonists and enjoy herself alone. But she has a child. The male lead has an app. They cannot be separated. Heshi smiled and wanted to go to the plot of pursuing his wife at the crematorium. There's no door. Heshi not only closed the door, but also sealed the windows. Even a small gap needs to be blocked. Before wearing a book, Heshi only sought glory, wealth, and status, without seeking any true feelings. He would rather die alone than be impoverished and destitute. Now that she has a car, a house, and savings, what kind of love does she want? Casual, joyful, and free, isn't it fragrant? Keywords of the novel. After dressing up as a romantic brain female supporting character, she became a huge fan without a pop-up window. After dressing up as a romantic brain female supporting character, she became a huge fan. Download the complete text. After dressing up as a romantic brain female supporting character, she became a huge fan. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Wearing books. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Wearing books. Heshi died. The day before yesterday, she went to bed at 3 o'clock and woke up at 7 o'clock, full of energy and able to run a marathon to win prizes. Yesterday, she acted bravely and was stabbed and killed by a villain. Now, she sat on the huge bed, wrapped in a thin blanket, staring blankly at the cold man in front of her handing a document. Divorce agreement. Heshi was confused. I told you before. The man's clear voice sounded above his head, there's no possibility between us. Last night, you got too far apart. We divorced. This sentence thundered into Heshi's brain, suddenly pulling out the deep memories. She is Heshi, but she is no longer a social animal. Heshi in 1996, but a supporting role with the same name and surname in a book. This novel was recommended by a colleague to Heshi because the name of the deceased wife of the male protagonist in it is the same as hers. For some unknown reason, Heshi wore it into the book. Heshi was struck by 5 thunderbolts, and the corners of his mouth twitched slightly as he looked at the handsome man in front of him, who was as handsome as the wind and bamboo. Suddenly, he burst out laughing. Dog man, don't fall into my hands. When I was reading, Heshi wanted to spill the ashes of a dog man and chase after a crematorium. Let him lie down and go in, turn into ash before coming out. Xiujin frowned and said, if you sign now, you won't have any property or reputation damage. On the contrary, I will compensate you 50 million yuan. Besides, I'll give you both the villa and the car. Okay, I promise you. Since you've survived, and you have a car, a house, and 50 million, why not do it? Heshi readily agreed. As for the revenge of reading, what kind of crematorium would he pursue his wife? She changed it directly to the female lead text or the male lead. Get out of here. Heshi looked at Xiujin as if he saw the golden money tree and said, sign now. Xiujin hesitated for a moment and said, whatever. Then, could you please lend me a pen? Heshi reached out to him, but his gaze fell on the pen on the man's neat suit pocket. Xiujin squinted his eyes and handed her the pen. You'd better not play any tricks on me, he said. Don't worry, I won't do it. Heshi didn't even lift his head after receiving the pen, signed it neatly, and then returned it to him. Please wait for me a little longer. I'll go tidy up, and then we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. The divorce agreement has been signed, but if we don't get the divorce certificate, we still feel uneasy. Xiujin saw that she was even more urgent than herself and couldn't see clearly what she was thinking. Give you 5 minutes, he said, ha. Heshi frowned as he was about to get up. What are you talking about? 5 minutes. Are you rushing to get reincarnated? Gu Xiujin. I need to wash myself, wash my hair, take a shower, and take a bath. Heshi reached out and counted, but was interrupted before she could finish speaking. 30 minutes. Gu Xiujin made a slight concession. Heshi hugged his arms and curved his lips with a smile as he looked at him. Mr. Gu, now you're going to get divorced, not me asking for a divorce, okay? Asking for a divorce, is your attitude better? Heshi smiled slightly and looked at him. Even if I sign, but I haven't gone to the Civil Affairs Bureau to handle the procedures, it's not a formal divorce, is it? Begging her to divorce. Gu Xiujin frowned and really wanted to open Heshi's head to see what was inside. But looking at Heshi's small and successful appearance, Gu Xiujin didn't want to waste time. He glanced at his watch and said, an hour. Okay. Heshi didn't bargain anymore, wrapped himself in a thin blanket and ran to the bathroom. Gu Xiujin was stunned for a moment, not expecting her to get up like this. Seeing the marks on her collarbone and shoulder, his eyebrows furrowed. Last night, remember to take your medicine. Don't worry, I will definitely do it. Heshi didn't look back and went in directly, closing the door. With a bang, Gu Xiujin was the only one in the spacious bedroom, while the bathroom quickly heard the sound of water and Heshi's dissatisfaction. Maid, is this person a dog? Can you nibble so much? Gu Xiujin's eyebrows twitched fiercely, not knowing who had prescribed the medicine. Here comes the new text, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Is all black material. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 is all black material. While taking a shower, Heshi recalled the main story in the book. The original owner passed away from stomach cancer 2 years later, leaving behind a daughter. After the death of the original protagonist, the male protagonist finally realized that the original protagonist was the white moonlight he had been longing for. Therefore, he regretted it and found a female protagonist who looked very similar to the original protagonist, and the family of 3 lived happily and happily. I poo. What are these dog men still keeping for? Is it Chinese New Year? During the Chinese New Year, we also need to keep festive things. What is this annoying thing? Heshi felt resentful for the original owner, but now she has passed through. Those misunderstandings without dog blood would not have happened, and she would not have stomach cancer, let alone died. Then, after divorcing the male lead, she will become a wealthy woman and spend the rest of her life peacefully and happily. This is the perfect life. On the way to the Civil Affairs Bureau, Heshi was in a good mood. He couldn't help humming a tune all the way, which made Gu Xiujin frown. Can you wait a moment? Heshi also spoke, and their voices rang out in a staggered manner. Heshi turned his eyes and seemed to be asking, is there anything wrong? Drive faster, Gu Xiujin said as he swallowed his words. Don't worry. Heshi turned back and ignored Gu Xiujin, telling the driver, go to the pharmacy and help me buy some post-medication. The driver almost didn't stabilize. Ma'am. Listen to her. Gu Xiujin squinted his eyes and ate under his eyelids before he could rest assured. The driver stopped to buy medicine. Heshi looked out the car window. Gu Xiujin glanced over and felt that she was a bit different from before, but he had no memory of what Heshi was like in the past. An insignificant woman is not worth remembering or wasting time with. And last night, it was purely an accident. Gu Xiujin closed her eyes and rested, so there wouldn't be any similar accidents in the future. The driver has bought medicine and returned. After receiving the medicine, Heshi did not directly open it but handed it to Gu Xiujin. Take a look. I didn't fool you. According to the original plot in the book, the protagonist gave birth to a daughter later on. Heshi is not sure if he can prevent it after taking the medicine. If he doesn't succeed and turns around, Gu Xiujin misunderstands her taking fake medicine. What should he do? Heshi doesn't want to get involved in any dog blood misunderstandings. Gu Xiujin didn't take a glance and said, no need. I still have some trust in you on this point. Heshi withdrew his hand, opened the packaging box, took the medicine in one gulp, and then answered, I don't trust you. Xiujin glanced over and ignored. After finishing the medicine, the driver continued to drive. Not many people divorced from the Civil Affairs Bureau, and Heshi and Xiujin quickly obtained their certificates. Heshi originally wanted to wave goodbye, but at least he had a 2-year marriage. However, Xiujin didn't even glance and directly got in the car to let the driver drive away. The dust stirred up by Heshi choked on it. Looking up again, there was no trace of a car. Very good, very good. Xiujin, it's best not to know that the original owner is your white moonlight in this lifetime, otherwise. Heshi chuckled coldly and said, I won't easily forgive you for the original owner. At this moment, a pleasant bell rang. Heshi looks at the caller ID, Delon. In an instant, Heshi remembered the original owner's profession. Acting. Extremely poor acting skills, roast throughout the network, poor character, lightning protection throughout the entire network, the image is particularly poor, and every search is full of black material. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Participating in variety shows. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Participating in variety shows. Heshi rubbed his temples with some hypoxia, closed his eyes, gritted his teeth, and connected the phone. The other person quickly spoke up, Heshi, where are you? At the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Heshi looked back and silently added, at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau that specializes in handling divorce procedures. Delon was stunned for 2 seconds before applause came from her phone. Heshi, you're finally divorced, she said, congratulations, you have escaped from the sea of suffering. Heshi let out a faint hum, and everyone around him knew it was a trap. However, the original owner even threw himself into it with great enthusiasm. Isn't this a proper love brain? What can I do for you? As Heshi remembered correctly, the original owner doesn't want to work now. Remembering the reason why the original owner entered the circle, Heshi was truly speechless at 360 degrees without any dead corners. The original owner actually wanted the male lead to see her more and enter the circle. I don't care about all the black material, and even think it's good to have more black material, so that the male lead can notice her. Heshi silently looked up at the sky. What level of rebellion is this? When she was in elementary school, she felt childish. The original owner was already 20.4 years old. He couldn't spit out the grain during the harvest. Oh, Delon thought of the right thing and earnestly advised her, Heshi, I've pulled down my old face to find you a variety show. Now that you're divorced, you're going to work for whatever you say. Don't make any more excuses for me, Delon continued, as a man, I responsibly tell you that women still need money to have confidence. Otherwise, just like you are now, your ex-husband doesn't take you seriously at all. It's heartbreaking, but very realistic. Heshi touched the tip of his nose and nodded uncomfortably in agreement, so I'm going to the company now. No need, I have sent you all the documents. Take a look and go to the variety show tomorrow, said Delon, feeling a bit lacking in confidence. Heshi hummed and felt something was wrong. So fast. Airborne. Delon explained, then thought of Heshi's temperament and added, it's not about grabbing a spot, it's because the other party didn't come at the last minute. I fought for it for you. Oh, Heshi replied meaningfully. Oh what? Please read the script carefully and don't cause trouble for me. Delon warned her angrily, if you cause trouble again, I won't be able to protect you. Heshi obediently agreed. Although Xiujin gave her a house and a car, as well as 50 million, she couldn't sit idly by. Women should have their own jobs. Heshi was full of energy and called for an online ride-hailing service on her phone. She threw out all of Xiujin's belongings, cleared all the bad luck, and her new life began. On the other hand, Xiujin returned to the office and saw a flashy book on the desk, which didn't look like a document. Gu Xiujin frowned and went over to look, but there was nothing left on the table. Illusion. Gu Xiujin frowned and stared at the table. There was a loud knocking on the door, and shortly after, the assistant pushed the door in and said, "Mr. Gu, there will be a meeting in 20 minutes. Gu Xiujin's attention was pulled back, but the corner of his eye still fell on the table. "Has anyone come in?" "No," the assistant denied and then asked, "Mr. Gu, is there something missing?" Gu Xiujin shook his head and didn't say anything. Soon, he forgot about his previous vision and focused on his work. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Throw all Gu Xiujin's things out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Throw all Gu Xiujin's things out. Heshi returned to the villa and immediately asked the nanny to tidy up all Gu Xiujin's belongings before throwing them out. "Madam, sir doesn't have anything left here," the nanny replied as she looked at her strangely. Heshi's mouth twitched fiercely. "Gu Xiujin, what a good job." "That's nothing," Heshi waved his hand calmly and then thought of something to add, "Clean up the master bedroom, and it's best to get me 84 disinfectant to disinfect it. By the way, don't call me Mrs. in the future, call me Miss He." Heshi ignored the surprise of the nanny and went upstairs with Xiujin. The nanny didn't know what had happened and looked straight at Heshi going upstairs, then went to the corner to make a phone call. After going upstairs, Heshi didn't go back to the master bedroom, but went to the guest room and lay on the soft bed, reading the documents sent by Dylan. "Is it airborne?" Heshi hummed and impulsively exited the interface to take a look on Weibo. As expected. The first 3 hot searches are all related to her. #Heshi airborne ## The variety show that was criticized by the entire network has returned ## whose position did Heshi grab again #It seems that the original owner's popularity is quite good. Heshi's mentality is very stable, and black and red are also red. Follow the topic and browse the comments on Heshi. Can a pair of bad variety shows and bad celebrities still achieve new heights? I'll go, this variety show still exists. I was so excited about watching it last season. Thank you for letting me lose my fans last season. Can such a terrible variety show still produce a second season? Just say, did you watch it? It doesn't matter whether someone is watching, it's about spending money. Heshi clicked and withdrew from Weibo. How bad is this variety show really? Looking at the negative reviews all over the screen, Heshi seriously suspected that Dylan's so-called opportunity to put down her old face and seek revenge was to deceive herself. December 2000, noon, lunch break time. Gu Xiujin had just finished the meeting and returned to the office, looking at the files on the computer desktop and massaging her temples with a headache. The assistant brought lunch, which is a packaging box from Hualai International Hotel. "Where else did you go?" Gu Xiujin remembered that yesterday's lunch box was not this one, but a fresh green one that looked very pleasing to the eye. "My wife didn't bring lunch today." The front desk waited for a long time but didn't see Heshi coming. He was so anxious that he wanted to call and ask, but Heshi didn't leave his contact information. The front desk could only wait until noon, and still didn't see anyone coming. They took the initiative to book lunch at the Hualai International Hotel. These are all things that the assistant just learned from the front desk. Gu Xiujin paused for a moment and looked at the packaging box with a faint expression. "This is the only one in the future." "Okay, Mr. Gu." The assistant went out for some unknown reason. Gu Xiujin fell into a brief moment of contemplation as he looked at the packaging box, but it was only a few seconds. Gu Xiujin would not waste time and energy on trivial matters. However, the taste of the food eaten at the entrance are vastly different from the memories of lunch. Gu Xiujin was rarely annoyed and restless. Looking at the exquisite lunch, she suddenly lost her appetite and decided not to eat lunch. At the same time, while eating the meticulously cooked lunch by the nanny in the villa's Heshi, he looked at the documents sent by Dylan. Heshi has already recorded all the above process, but she does not intend to follow the script. As for variety shows, the most important thing is that the audience enjoys watching them. Heshi was leisurely and carefree, but the nanny looked at her anxiously. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Wasn't your face a little thicker than a billion? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Wasn't your face a little thicker than a billion? Can I come to your house for dinner? This is a variety show that Heshi will participate in, and she is also a regular guest. This variety show had a dismal low viewership in the previous season, and none of the guests who participated were singled out for blacklisting. And this time, the program team plans to use live streaming to more directly and realistically showcase the popularity of celebrities among the people. Of course, there are scripts for all of this. Before departure, Agent Delon gave 1,000 instructions on the car to make Heshi work hard and not leave anything behind. Heshi, I'll tell you, this is your only chance to turn over. Delon looked at her and said, if I miss this opportunity again, I won't have the ability to catch you out of the refrigerator again. Don't worry, I'll handle things, don't worry, Heshi replied perfunctorily. This time, I will definitely perform well according to the script. Seeing her like this, Delon felt uneasy and wished to twist her ear and say, you take it seriously for me. Do you know how annoying you are now? Delon was attracted to her face when she signed the contract, but she didn't expect that she was a brainless princess who knew nothing and was also suffering from princess disease. I also admitted, after all, it's the person I chose, and even if I'm blind, I have to take it with me. Heshi nodded repeatedly and admitted, do you think that I have been blacklisted, which proves that I still have popularity? If no one criticizes me, that would be scary. Delon rolled her eyes and didn't want to speak anymore. As she watched the destination arrive, Delon patted Heshi's shoulder and said, go ahead and behave well. Heshi made an okay gesture and got off the car. Just as he came down, dozens of cameras turned around, and Heshi glanced at him and said hello everyone. Coming, the top black and red female star on the internet has arrived. Surprisingly, it wasn't the last one to arrive. Surprisingly not being late, the program team has arranged 3 permanent guests and 3 additional flying guests to form 3 teams and ask passers-by if they can come to your house for dinner. This variety show is very popular abroad and also very warm. However, the performance of last season's program is full of roast, and the audience has no expectations for it. When the program team invited it was her black and red that caught their eye. As expected, the arrival of Heshi has led to a sharp increase in the number of viewers in the live broadcast room. The number of bullet comments has also increased from the first 10 or 20 to thousands. It seems that Heshi's popularity is still very resistant to fighting. Heshi looked around and saw that all the guests from the other groups had already arrived, except for her partner who had not yet arrived. There was no such arrangement in the script. 5 people have arrived, but everyone is unfamiliar and the atmosphere seems a bit awkward. As the oldest male actor, Xiujin spoke up, shall we introduce ourselves now? Let me start, my name is Xiujin. I am 49 years old and a regular guest on this program, in Group A. Xiujin introduced himself generously. Then another resident guest also began, my name is Danya, and I am also a resident guest. Then, their gaze fell on Heshi. The camera also turned to her. At this moment, the audience in the live broadcast room also became lively. Is she going to introduce herself as Mrs. Gu this time? Does Heshi still need to introduce herself? Shouldn't she know everyone online? Let me raise my hand. Heshi's introduction should be. Hello everyone, I am Heshi, the wife of Gu Xiujin. I'm laughing to death. Mr. Gu has never publicly admitted it. I have never seen someone so shameless before, as I have seen those who climb relationships compared to the universe. Heshi's face is still so much worse. End of this chapter. What are the good things about arguing in chapter 6? Let's fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What are the good things about arguing in Chapter 6? Let's fight. Faced with the unfriendly camera, Heshi smiled slightly and said calmly, "Hello everyone, I am Heshi. Please give me more guidance." "What? No cue, Mr. Gu. I'm not satisfied." "Oh, so is that what Mr. Gu said?" "There is some rumors that Mr. Gu's Bai Yueguang has returned to China, and it seems that Gu can't tolerate anyone hyping him up for scandals." "Wow, Mr. Gu's white moonlight, then Heshi won't have a chance." "Heshi has never had a chance, okay." Feng Qi and Danya didn't mention Gu Xiujin when they saw he, and quietly breathed a sigh of relief. "Hello, Heshi." Feng Qi reached out to her and said, "I've heard of your name a long time ago. As soon as I saw you today, it truly lives up to its reputation." "Huh, is this during the connotation of Heshi?" "Very beautiful." Feng Qi finished the second half of the sentence calmly. Heshi suddenly remembered that the original owner had another title in the circle, which was Ligay Haitang. This is the name of a flower with a rich variety of colors, among which light pink is the most bright and brilliant. Just one glance can make people linger and forget to leave. At this moment, Danya followed suit and said, "Li Gu Haitang, it really matches your temperament." "Thank you," Heshi said one by one. Two other flying guests also introduced themselves. One was Ren Zimo, an actor who starred in a popular web drama and also became famous as the male lead. The other one is Tang Qianqian, a female group singer who is not very popular in the group, but has recently terminated her contract and is also very popular. The rest is by Jiayue, an internet celebrity anchor who hasn't arrived yet. After the introduction of the 5 people, Bai Jiayue's nanny car arrived late. Waiting for her to get off the car and come over to introduce herself took another 2 minutes. The number of viewers in the live broadcast room has been decreasing, causing the production team to panic and repeatedly urging guests to leave. The way to eat at home was pre-arranged by the production team, and Heshi and Bai Jiayue just had to follow the script and there was no problem. But after walking for a while, Bai Jiayue couldn't move anymore. She pouted at the camera and tearfully said, "I can't walk that far with such a high heel. Let's take a taxi over." Heshi stopped, "But we don't have money." Yes, for the authenticity of the program, the production team temporarily kept their phones and wallets safe. And because it's going to someone else's house for dinner, they don't have any money on them. Regarding this, Heshi felt very impolite, but that's how the program team arranged it. Bai Jiayue was unhappy and said, "Then let's find a nearby household to ask. I can't go too far." I thought the first thing I couldn't bear would be Heshi, but it turned out to be her. Who is this? The location arranged by the production team is not too far, is it? Interestingly, what kind of fireworks would 2 princesses collide when they get sick together? The program team is very good at arranging things. Heshi furrowed his brows and looked like an old subway man looking at his phone. "We've only walked less than 100 meters, haven't we? And the destination is only 200 meters away from here." Heshi pointed sideways to the intersection ahead and said, "Just take a turn ahead and you'll be at the entrance of the community." "I'm not leaving," Bai Jiayue ignored and casually pointed to a building. "It's him. Choose the first floor." Heshi. No way, why didn't Heshi go to the bar? How could there be a topic without arguing at this time? "Quick, I'm ready with melon seeds and watermelons. Let's argue, let's argue." What's good about arguing? It's only interesting when fighting. Okay, end of this chapter. Is chapter 7 convenient? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is chapter 7 convenient? After a moment of silence, Heshi walked over to Bai Jiayue and whispered in her ear, "Are you different from the script I took?" Bai Jiayue instantly widened her eyes and looked at Heshi incredulously, "Are you crazy? Hey, what's up here?" Heshi casually spread out his hand. "Since that's the case, then I'll listen to you. Come on, this is the only building, isn't it? Heshi intentionally pointed in the opposite direction and walked towards Bai Jiayue's shoulder. Come on, let's randomly select the lucky ones. No. Bai Jiayue really wanted to break free from the grip of Heshi, but her strength was too strong to move even a little. I want to know what Heshi said. Heshi. Do you think it's too far? Then go further away. At this moment, Bai Jiayue reluctantly wanted to push aside the hand that Heshi had placed on her shoulder and said, What do you want? Now it's live streaming. Didn't the production team say they wanted to present the most authentic situation? Heshi turned to see the director, and seeing that he didn't object, he turned to Bai Jiayue and said, Look, isn't this not blocking us? Bai Jiayue's lips twitched fiercely as she watched the live broadcast. Who dares to oppose it? Don't be nervous, no matter how bad we are, we won't miss the first season. Heshi patted her shoulder to comfort her. Bai Jiayue no longer wanted to speak. Looking at Bai Jiayue, it seems like a little chick is being carried by Heshi. Hey, I don't know why, but I actually feel a bit satisfied looking at it. The community randomly selected by Heshi does not have any property and can be accessed directly. Moreover, there are not many people present, and the road is peaceful. Bai Jiayue looked a bit panicked and couldn't move her legs. Why don't we walk back? There seems to be no one here. Bai Jiayue tried to persuade Heshi to go back and continue acting according to the script. But Heshi ignored it and pointed to the room on the first floor, saying, Look, isn't this lighting up? There will definitely be someone around. Bai Jiayue looked in the direction of her fingertips and raised her eyebrows fiercely. It was clearly a basement, and she didn't even know who lived inside. Forget it. Bai Jiayue didn't want to leave. Upon seeing this, Heshi pulled her forward and said, Everyone has come. Why are you so polite? Who is being polite to you? Bai Jiayue regretted it. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have been such a fool. Bai Jiayue looked at Heshi as she entered and knocked on the door. After waiting for a while, no one came out to open the door. She snorted and said angrily, Look, they must know we're doing a program and don't want to open the door. What's the rush? Heshi was very calm. Just wait a little longer and it'll be fine. Wait, there won't be anyone. Bai Jiayue didn't turn her head, maybe the light was forgotten to be turned off. Heshi frowned for a moment and hesitated, shouldn't it be? It must be, otherwise how could no one open the door? Bai Jiayue saw her hesitating and immediately followed closely, persuading her, let's go back. There's something moving. Heshi heard footsteps and let out a sigh before the door opened. Bai Jiayue rolled her eyes in displeasure. What's up with you? When the person opened the door and saw a stranger, their eyebrows furrowed slightly. Heshi squinted his eyes and explained with a smile, Hello, I'm Heshi. We are currently recording a variety show called, Can I Come to Your House for Dinner? Seeing the other person still wearing a vest, Heshi continued, We are currently broadcasting the entire process. Is it convenient? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Sister Marries Me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Sister Marries Me. Last night, Heshi reviewed the story of the whole book and marked several supporting roles who can become business partners in the future. And Xing in front of me is one of them. If it's not convenient, we can come back later. Heshi didn't want to give up this perfect opportunity to get to know each other. Bai Jiayue let out a sigh, not understanding why Heshi was so persistent about this place. It's inconvenient, shouldn't we just change places? Bai Jiayue said slightly dissatisfied. Convenient, please come in. Xing was stunned for a second and quickly understood the situation. He turned to let someone in. Sorry, the place I rented is in the basement. It's a bit small. No, I think it's pretty good, Heshi shook his head and denied, then went to look at the basement. It was a single room, about 15 square meters. A bed, a simple wardrobe, a small round table, with a small rice cooker and water cup on top, and 2 plastic stools below. The bathroom is separated by simple curtain cloth. Bai Jiayue had never seen such a rudimentary living environment before, so she frowned and even raised her hand to cover her nose. "What kind of job do you do?" Bai Jiayue asked. "If you don't work at this point, you shouldn't be an unemployed wanderer, right?" Heshi turned around and saw that the girl really couldn't speak. Acting. Xing Nan remembered before introducing himself, "My name is Xing Nan, and I am a martial arts stunt double." "Wow, it's very powerful." Heshi gave a thumbs up awesome and then asked, "Did you just keep fit?" "Well, keep in shape." Xing Nan poured out 2 cups of warm plain water. "I'm sorry, we don't have a refrigerator at home and haven't bought any groceries yet. I'll go to the market to buy groceries later, and then treat you to dinner." There were no chairs left, and Xing Nan stood next to her. She had just finished exercising and was still wearing a vest, and her heat had not fully dissipated yet. Heshi could feel the steaming hot air rushing towards him, warm and slightly dry, with a similar feeling to before. Just like realizing it was an unpleasant memory, Heshi immediately stopped and said, "It's okay, we can go to the market together." Bai Jiayue let out a sigh of displeasure and said, "Forget it. Isn't it good to go to the supermarket?" Bai Jiayue remembered a chain supermarket on her way. "Isn't there a supermarket nearby?" Xing Nan did not deny, "But that supermarket doesn't have daily ingredients, only daily necessities. If you're buying groceries, you still need to go to the market." Bai Jiayue. She seriously suspected that these 2 people were deliberately making things difficult for her. Xing Nan went to change clothes, and Heshi sat in a chair to take a look. Bai Jiayue glanced over and said, "What's so nice about this? I don't even know what you're thinking. If you don't go to a good neighborhood, you have to come here." Bai Jiayue furrowed her brows and was already very dissatisfied. Regardless of whether Heshi answered or not, she continued on her own, "I don't know what to eat later." "I'm really unlucky enough to partner with you," Bai Jiayue thought more and more, feeling more and more at a loss. She had known she wouldn't have followed me just now. Heshi lazily stretched out his long legs. "Let's see each other." Bai Jiayue widened her eyes, "And you still have the face to say me. Martial arts stunt doubles." Heshi ignored her reaction and pinched his chin as he looked at Xing Nan, who had changed into clothes. He had neat short hair, a loose white T-shirt, khaki shorts, and then paired them with small white shoes. It's a refreshing and clean youthful style. Especially that heroic and spirited face. Kneeling down and licking the screen, shouting for my sister to marry me. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Buying vegetables in the market. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Buying vegetables in the market. Heshi took a sip of saliva and asked, "Miss Xing, how old are you?" 25. Xing Nan didn't know why, but he still answered truthfully. "Do you have a boyfriend?" Heshi continued to ask. Xing Nan shook his head and said, "No, I don't have this idea at the moment." "Do you mind finding a girlfriend?" Heshi asked again. Xing Nan. Ah. Heshi. Bai Jiayue is going crazy. This is a food variety show, not a blind date show. What exactly does she want? Don't you think she's very handsome? Heshi said seriously, "I really like her." Bai Jiayue. Well, it looks quite handsome. There is definitely a problem with Heshi, so Heshi didn't stick to General Gu anymore. Did he change his target? Xing Nan. It looks a bit familiar to me. It seems like I've seen it somewhere before. Cough, cough. Xing Nan could tell that Heshi was joking, but still a bit shy. "Let's go." Okay, Heshi followed up, almost holding the other person's hand. Bai Jiayue fell behind, as if unnecessary. Approaching lunchtime, the market is particularly crowded. The program team came to record a variety show, causing many passers-by to stop and watch. What do you want to eat? Xiujin looked around and was not used to being surrounded. Heshi thought for a moment and said, just keep it simple, like stir-fried eggs with tomatoes. I want to have steak, Xiujin replied bluntly. It would be best to have snowflake beef. Xiujin's face suddenly changed. Sorry, I can't afford it right now. What can you buy? Xiujin pouted discontentedly, I don't even have anything I want to eat. What else are you treating us to eat? Stop, it's you who wants steak, but I didn't say I wanted it. Heshi raised his index finger and shook it, I didn't ask for it anymore. I'll eat whatever my sister does. Heshi turned to Xiujin and smiled. We don't care about her. When it's time to do it, she will still eat it without fail. Xiujin. Don't make me sound like a pig. Xiujin couldn't bear it anymore. Heshi hummed and said, what would you like to eat? The requirement is to be simple. Coca-Cola chicken wings, that's enough, isn't it? Xiujin hugged her arms and didn't want to say another word. How do you like scrambled eggs with tomatoes and cola chicken wings, and another vegetable dish? Heshi quickly confirmed the recipe and looked at Xiujin, asking, is there any vegetable that you don't want to eat? No, Xiujin shook his head before realizing that the initiative had fallen on Heshi. Okay, then there's no problem. Heshi looked over and said, there's no fresh chicken wings, so we can only buy frozen ones. Which do you like, Coca-Cola or Pepsi? Heshi asked Xiujin. No matter what. Xiujin still didn't go too far and didn't want to participate at all. Xiujin thought for a moment and said, Pepsi seems a bit sweeter. Then I want something delicious, Xiujin suddenly replied. Heshi nodded and said, I'll take some bok choy for the vegetables. This is simple and easy to clean. All the ingredients have been determined, and the procurement is also very fast, especially under the leadership of Xiujin, who can buy directly at the stall without any need for selection. Xiujin originally didn't want to participate, but she got lost among the beautiful women mentioned by the stall owner. When buying frozen chicken wings, the boss saw two beautiful women coming and spoke very politely. In the end, he even gave an extra pair of chicken wings and said, thank you, beautiful woman. Next time we visit again, we will continue to offer you a 20% discount. The boss was very bold. Xiujin was filled with joy and said, definitely, definitely. I'll come back next time. Boss, remember to give me a discount, don't forget. Boss. I definitely won't forget it. You look so beautiful, who would forget it? Xiujin drifted away. Heshi covered his mouth and chuckled beside him. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Banquet Companions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Banquet Companions. There is only one electric rice cooker in Xiujin's single room, so he can't cook any other dishes. Heshi went to knock on the door across from the first floor, obtained the other person's consent, cooked together, and then ate together. Xiujin has no feelings for Heshi's operation, and even wants to find another person to roast. Don't you think she is noisy? No, Xiujin answered truthfully, then looked at he who was busy in the kitchen with a smile in his eyes and a slight smile on his lips. I think it's pretty good. It's very lively. Xiujin fell silent. I hit it, what's going on? Sister's expression is amazing, isn't it? Something's wrong, but I'm so happy. Someone is not right before wearing a book. Heshi cooked for himself, and his skills were decent. Moreover, he had learned cooking before, and when combined, Heshi was adept at cooking. In no time, a drooling aroma wafted out of the kitchen. Xiujin's stomach was beating drums and gongs at the right time, so loud that everyone could hear her. Heshi smiled slightly and looked over. We can have dinner in a little while. I definitely know, you don't have to say it, Bai Jiayue snorted and got up to enter the kitchen. The homeowner tidied up the table and brought out the scrambled tomatoes and eggs, saying, "Heshi's cooking is very good. Smelling the fragrance makes people crave it." After washing her hands, Bai Jiayue came out and cut out, "How could she possibly cook? Auntie, don't praise her anymore." The landlord waved his hand repeatedly and said, "All the dishes were made by Heshi alone. I was just washing the dishes nearby, but I didn't help much." Bai Jia moved her mouth and saw the dishes on the table. She exclaimed, "That must look good, but it doesn't necessarily taste good. You can taste it later and you'll know." The landlord didn't care what Bai Jiayue said. Xing Nan originally wanted to cook, but after being asked by Heshi, the task of cooking disappeared. "Sorry, I should have done it." Xing Nan went in to help serve the dishes and apologized to Heshi on the way. Heshi took off his apron and said, "Then let's add a friend later and treat me to dinner. I'm sure Heshi must have a conspiracy. I'll go, that's all I need to know about my contact information, sister, don't promise her." "Okay," Xing Nan agreed. "It's lunchtime again." The assistant looked at the message sent but did not reply, so he had to grit his teeth and send Gu Xiujin lunch cooked at the hotel. "Mr. Gu, lunch has been delivered." The assistant didn't dare to see Gu Xiujin's reaction, but yesterday when he was tidying up, he saw very clearly that Mr. Gu didn't have lunch. "Put it there." Gu Xiujin didn't look up. After putting it away, the assistant continued, "Mr. Gu, there is a dinner tonight and we need to bring our female companion on stage. Am I going to contact my wife?" The assistant looked at Gu Xiujin anxiously. Usually, during these banquets, Mr. Gu wouldn't bring a female companion, but this time, the assistant asked. Gu Xiujin finally looked up from his work and said, "No need." Also. Gu Xiujin was about to say something when the phone on the desktop vibrated, followed by a pleasant ringtone. The assistant didn't disturb and went out very wisely. Gu Xiujin looked at the caller ID and frowned before connecting. "It's me. Tonight." Gu Xiujin thought of what his assistant had just said. I'll have someone pick you up." End of this chapter.